He tightened the worn strap of his janitor belt, the tools clinking softly as he worked his way down the corridor. It was barely 6 a.m. The building would be alive soon, officers pacing between rooms, trainees rushing to briefings, boots echoing on concrete. But for now, he had the place mostly to himself. Mostly the quiet was a kind of mercy. In these early hours, he didn't have to pretend he wasn't tired. He didn't have to smile at anyone or brace for snide comments or laugh at jokes made at his expense. He could just breathe. And breathing, these days, was something he had to remind himself to do. Daniel moved slowly, not out of laziness but out of deliberate rhythm. The mop glided back and forth across the floor, the faint swish of water spreading like a whisper. His shoulders rose and fell with each motion. His eyes traced the reflection of fluorescent lights in the wet tiles, their pale glow trembling with every sweep. Routine. Predictable. Safe.it had taken him years to build a life with even this much stability. Years of scrambling between minimum wage jobs, of juggling bills, of swallowing pride. Years of trying to give his daughter, his world, some piece of normalcy. Lily always asked him to come home before she fell asleep, even if only for a minute. She'd wait by the door, clutching her stuffed ladybug, listening for the jingle of his keys. He'd bend down, kiss the top of her head, sign "Daddy's here," and she'd sign back "I missed you." He thought of her as he cleaned. He always did. His footsteps echoed lightly as he turned down another hallway, the polished floor reflecting the soft morning haze drifting through the windows. He could hear laughter now, young, sharp, careless. The kind of laughter that didn't belong to someone who had known hardship. It came from ahead, drifting from the open doorway of briefing room 2. He knew before he saw them that it was the recruits. They had taken to hanging around that room every morning, waiting for someone to walk by, preferably him. There wasn't cruelty in all of them, not exactly. Some were just bored. Some followed the others. Some didn't know any better and didn't care to. But a few seemed to enjoy making him uncomfortable. He wasn't angry at them. He didn't have the energy for anger anymore. He was just tired. The hallway narrowed slightly near the briefing room, and he could already see the faint glow of the projector through the windows. The recruits stood clustered in a loose circle, chattering loudly until one of them noticed him. The tall one, Carlson, straightened and grinned. "There he is," Carlson said, elbowing his friend. "Morning, boss." "Boss." "Sir." "Chief." They always picked titles that sounded respectful but weren't, not with that smug curl in their voices. Daniel nodded, intending to walk past, but they shifted, forming an almost casual barrier. "You're heading this way, right?" Carlson asked, tapping the handle of the briefing room door. "Commander Rourke's inside. Asked for someone to help." "Yeah," another recruit chimed in, a girl with her hair pulled back tightly. "He needs the projector checked. We figured, this is your area." Her smile was thin, brittle. Daniel stopped. His mop bucket swayed gently beside him. He could feel the setup the way he could feel humidity before rain, subtle, heavy, inevitable. Commander Elias Rourke was strict, intimidating, and completely deaf, and the recruits knew Daniel couldn't speak to him. Or thought he couldn't. "Go ahead," Carlson said. "He's expecting you." Daniel looked at each of them. Young faces, all of them. Eager, restless, searching for something to break the monotony of their morning drills. He wasn't angry. He was simply disappointed, not at them, but at the fact that the world still found amusement in humiliating the quiet ones. "All right," Daniel said softly. "I'll go in." He pushed the mop bucket aside, wiped his hands on his work pants, and stepped through the doorway. As the door closed behind him, he heard muffled snickers. Then silence. The room was dim, the blinds drawn halfway. Dust floated in the air like faint ash, catching the pale slivers of light. The projector sat on the table, unplugged, the cord coiled loosely like a trap waiting to be sprung. Commander Rourke stood near the front, arms crossed, massive and motionless. He could have been carved from stone. A square jaw, stern brow, posture held in precise tension. His eyes lifted the moment he sensed movement. They were sharp. Too sharp. Daniel felt the weight of that gaze land on him like a test. He raised a hand slightly in respectful greeting. Rourke narrowed his eyes and signed a sharp, clipped question. Daniel blinked, but not from confusion, from surprise at how fast Rourke signed when annoyed. Most people, when confronted with sign language, did one of three things: panic, laugh nervously, or pretend they understood. Daniel did none of those. He breathed in slowly, then signed back, "Good morning, sir. I was told you needed help with the projector." The effect was instant. Rourke's arms uncrossed. His eyebrows lifted. His jaw tightened, not with anger, but with stunned curiosity. You sign? He signed back, slower this time. Daniel nodded. Some. Who taught you? Daniel hesitated. Not because he was ashamed, but because the memory of that time still carried a raw ache. He signed, my daughter. She needed someone to talk to. Rourke stared. A flicker of emotion crossed his face, something deep, wounded, familiar. His posture shifted, softening around the edges. He signed, your daughter is deaf? No, Daniel replied. Trauma. She didn't speak for a long time. Signing helped us. And now? Daniel smiled faintly. She talks. A lot. Rourke exhaled through his nose, a silent laugh of approval. Behind the tinted glass panel at the side of the room, the recruits had gathered, pressing their faces to the window, expecting chaos or shouting or some kind of confrontation. Instead, they saw a janitor and a commander conversing in silent fluency. Rourke pointed to the projector, then signed, not broken. Daniel nodded. I figured. Wanted to see how you handled pressure. Daniel didn't show the flicker of amusement that crossed him. Instead, he crouched down, plugged in the projector, wiped off the dust, and switched it on. The machine hummed to life. Rourke watched him carefully, then he signed, you stayed calm. Daniel straightened slowly. Anger doesn't help, he signed back, most people crumble. I've had practice. Rourke studied him with the intensity of a man dissecting character, not performance. It made Daniel feel strangely seen. Uncomfortably seen. The door burst open before either of them could continue. The recruits shuffled in, laughter fading instantly when they saw Rourke's expression. Rourke signed something sharp, and the interpreter at the door stepped forward quickly. Which one of you thought it was appropriate to send him in here as a joke? The recruits froze. Carlson swallowed. The girl looked at the floor. Rourke stepped closer, signing with crisp, authoritative strikes of his hands. You will apologize. Properly. You will assist maintenance for the next week. And you will learn basic sign language before returning to my training room. The interpreter spoke with matching intensity. Do you understand? They nodded, red-faced. Rourke wasn't finished. He pointed at Daniel. This man, he signed, showed more discipline than any of you. Daniel stiffened slightly, heat rising to his face, but Rourke didn't stop. He did not panic. He did not mock you. He did not assume incompetence. He handled himself with respect. He is an example. The recruits stared at Daniel differently now, not with humor, not with superiority, but with something like shame. Rourke then turned to Daniel and extended his hand. A handshake that held more weight than any salute. Daniel took it carefully. Rourke signed, quieter now, thank you. Daniel signed, anytime. As he stepped out of the briefing room, pushing his mop bucket down the hall again, he felt an unfamiliar tightness in his chest, not fear, not uncertainty, but something like validation. He hadn't asked for it. He hadn't expected it, but he had earned it. Behind him, the recruits were silent. Even Carlson. Daniel rounded the corner, the sound of his mop bucket's wheels echoing, soft and steady. Yet he didn't know that this morning, this setup meant to humiliate him would become the beginning of something far bigger. A connection he didn't know he needed. A commander who saw what others overlooked. A new path he didn't yet believe he deserved. For now, he simply kept walking, step after steady step, unaware that the world had just shifted under his feet.